go find another man. I don't feel anything for you since you gained that much weight, said my husband. That night, I decided he'd regret. I was standing there in our bedroom, wearing the nightgown I thought might make him notice me again. My hands were trembling. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. He didn't even look up from his phone when he said it. 89 kilograms. That's what I weighed after giving birth to our second child. 89 kilograms of a body that had created life, nurtured 2 beautiful babies, sacrificed everything for a family. And apparently that was too much for him. I locked myself in the bathroom that night and cried until no more tears would come. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, seeing every stretch mark, every extra pound, every imperfection he saw when he looked at me. But somewhere between the tears and the heartbreak, something inside me shifted. Those cruel words became fuel. A fire started burning in my chest that wouldn't go out. He wanted me to find another man? Fine, I would. But not before I made him regret every single syllable that came out of his mouth that night. What Mark didn't know was that his rejection wasn't going to break me. It was going to transform me into someone he could never have again. And trust me, the revenge I got was sweeter than anything I could have imagined. This is the story of how I lost the weight, found myself, and made my husband pay for the biggest mistake of his life. Before you click away, stay with me. Because what happens next might just change how you see yourself and what you're willing to accept from the people who claim to love you. Hit that like button and comment where you're watching from. You won't regret it. Let me take you back to the beginning, before everything fell apart. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 34 years old, and I live in Seattle with my 2 kids. Well, I lived with my husband too, but we'll get to that. 8 years ago, I married Mark at a beautiful ceremony overlooking Puget Sound. He was 29, working as a financial analyst. I was 26, a graphic designer with big dreams. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. Mark was attentive back then. He'd bring me coffee in bed on Sunday mornings. We'd take long walks around Green Lake, holding hands and talking about our future. We wanted kids, a family, the whole package. Emma came first, our beautiful daughter with Mark's green eyes and my dark hair. She's 6 now, smart as a whip, obsessed with dinosaurs and anything purple. Those first few years with Emma were exhausting but wonderful. Mark was a decent father, though he left most of the heavy lifting to me. I went back to work part-time when Emma turned 2. Juggling motherhood and my career was hard, but I managed. I stayed in shape, took care of myself, kept our home running smoothly. Mark seemed satisfied. We had our issues like any couple, but nothing major. Then we decided to try for baby number 2. Lucas, my sweet baby boy who just turned 8 months old. But that pregnancy was different, harder. My body didn't bounce back the way it did with Emma. I developed gestational diabetes. The doctor put me on bed rest for the last 2 months. I couldn't exercise. I could barely move without pain shooting through my back and hips. Mark worked longer hours during that time. He said it was to prepare for the new baby, to make sure we had enough saved up. I believed him. The delivery was complicated. 36 hours of labor that ended in an emergency situation. I won't go into details, but it was traumatic. Lucas was healthy, thank God. 10 fingers, 10 toes, perfect in every way. But I wasn't okay. Postpartum depression hit me like a truck. Some days I could barely get out of bed. The only thing that kept me going was Emma and Lucas needing me. Mark didn't understand. He'd come home from work, see me in the same sweatpants I'd been wearing for 3 days and sigh. That sigh. I heard it more and more as the weeks went by. I tried to talk to him about how I was feeling. The darkness, the exhaustion, the way my body felt like a stranger. He'd nod and say he understood, but his eyes would drift to his phone. The weight kept creeping up. 65 kilograms before pregnancy, 70 during, 80 after delivery, and then 89. I'd catch Mark looking at other women when we went out. His gaze would linger just a second too long on the server at restaurants, on mothers at Emma's school who'd kept their figures. He started making comments, little jabs disguised as concern. Maybe you should watch what you're eating. That's your second plate. Remember when you used to fit into those jeans? Each comment was a tiny cut, but I told myself he cared. He wanted me to be healthy. Then the physical distance started. Mark would stay late at the office. He'd fall asleep on the couch watching sports. When I'd reach for him in bed, he'd mumble something about being tired. 6 months of rejection. 6 months of feeling invisible in my own home. I tried everything. New clothes, makeup, doing my hair the way he used to like it. Nothing worked. Then came that night 3 weeks ago. The night that changed everything. Lucas was finally sleeping through the night. Emma was at a sleepover at her friend Sophie's house. We had the house to ourselves for the first time in months. I thought maybe this was our chance to reconnect, to remember what it felt like to be close again. I put on a nightgown I'd ordered online. Nothing too revealing, but nice. Flattering, or so I hoped. Mark was in bed, scrolling through his phone like always. I walked in, tried to smile, tried to feel confident even though my heart was racing. I sat on the edge of the bed, touched his arm. "Mark," I said softly, "look at me." He glanced up, his expression blank. I leaned in to kiss him. My hand moved to his chest. That's when he pulled away. "Sarah," he said, his voice cold. "I'm not in the mood." "We haven't been close in months," I whispered. "I miss you. I miss us." He put his phone down and looked at me. Really looked at me. And what I saw in his eyes made my stomach drop. Disgust. Pure disgust. "Look," he said, running his hand through his hair. "I'm just not attracted to you right now." "Okay. I'm being honest." The words hit me like a slap. "What do you mean?" I asked, even though I knew exactly what he meant. "You've let yourself go, Sarah. You're not the woman I married. I can't help how I feel." Tears started burning in my eyes. "I'm recovering from having your child, Mark." "Our child." "It's been 8 months," he shot back. "How long are you going to use that as an excuse?" "Excuse?" "I created a human being. My body went through trauma. Other women bounce back," he said, shrugging. "Look at Jennifer from my office. She had twins, and she's back to her pre-pregnancy weight." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "So what are you saying?" I managed to ask. Mark stood up, grabbed his pillow. "I'm saying if you're going to stay this size, maybe you should go find another man who's into that. Because I'm not." He walked out of the bedroom. I heard him settle onto the couch, turn on the TV, and I sat there, frozen, those words echoing in my head. Go find another man. I don't know how long I sat there before I finally moved. My legs felt like lead as I walked to the bathroom. I closed the door, locked it, and slid down to the floor. The sobs came hard and ugly, the kind of crying that racks your whole body. I looked up at the mirror from where I sat and barely recognized myself. When did I become someone my own husband couldn't stand to touch? I cried until my throat was raw, until my eyes were so swollen I could barely see. And then, as I sat there on that cold bathroom floor, something changed. The sadness started to burn away. In its place, anger rose up hot and fierce. Mark wanted me to find another man. He wanted to throw away our marriage because of my weight? Fine. I'd lose the weight, but not for him. I'd lose it so I could watch him realize what he'd lost, so I could make him beg for a second chance. And then I'd make sure he never got one. The next morning, I walked into Peak Fitness Gym on Broadway and signed up for a membership. The girl at the desk smiled at me. "New year, new you?" she asked cheerfully. "Something like that," I replied. I had no idea how much my life was about to change. The first week at the gym was absolute misery. Every muscle in my body screamed. I could barely lift my arms to wash my hair. Going up the stairs to check on Lucas felt like climbing Mount Everest. But I kept going. Mark noticed the gym bag by the door on day 3. "You joined a gym?" he asked, surprise in his voice. I didn't look up from making Emma's lunch. Yes. That's great, Sarah. Really? I think it'll be good for you. The condescension in his tone made my blood boil, but I just smiled and nodded. I wasn't doing this for his approval. The gym became my sanctuary. I'd drop Emma at school, take Lucas to my mom's house, and spend 2 hours working out before picking up my freelance design projects. The other women at the gym intimidated me at first. They were all so fit, so confident in their tight workout clothes. I wore oversized t-shirts and baggy sweatpants, trying to hide. But slowly I started to notice something. Most of them weren't judging me. They were focused on their own workouts, their own goals. A few even smiled at me. One older woman, named Patricia, gave me a thumbs up after I finished a particularly brutal treadmill session. "You've got this, honey," she called out. Those small moments of kindness kept me going. At home, Mark continued to keep his distance. He'd come home from work, eat dinner mostly in silence, then retreat to his laptop or his phone. He slept on the couch more nights than not. I stopped trying to engage him, stopped trying to make conversation. If he wanted to check out of our marriage, fine, but he'd see what he was missing soon enough. 3 months in, I'd lost 12 kilograms. My clothes were getting looser. I had to buy new workout pants because my old ones kept falling down. I could see definition in my arms for the first time in years. My face looked different, sharper, more like the old me. That's when I met Daniel. He was a personal trainer at the gym, 36 years old with kind brown eyes and an easy smile. I'd seen him around, working with clients, always encouraging and patient. One morning, I was struggling with the weight machines, trying to figure out the right form. Daniel approached, his smile warm. "Hey, mind if I give you a pointer? You're going to hurt your back doing it that way." I nodded, embarrassed. He showed me the correct position, his hands gently adjusting my posture without being inappropriate. "There you go. You'll feel it in your shoulders now, not your lower back." "Thank you," I said quietly. "I'm Daniel, by the way. I've seen you here pretty consistently. That dedication is impressive." "Sarah," I replied, "and I don't have much choice. I've got goals to hit." He laughed. "Don't we all?" "Well, if you ever want some guidance, I do personal training sessions. First one's free if you're interested." I wasn't sure I could afford it, but I took his card anyway. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and I kept running into each other. He'd check in on my progress, offer tips, celebrate my small victories. There was something different about the way he looked at me, not with pity or disgust, with respect, like I was a person, not just a body he was evaluating. 6 months after that horrible night with Mark, I'd lost 20 kilograms, 69 kilograms. I hadn't been this weight since before Emma was born. I bought new clothes, real clothes, not shapeless bags to hide in, jeans that actually fit, tops that showed I had a waist. Mark finally noticed. I was in the kitchen making coffee when he came up behind me. "Sarah, you look amazing," he said, his voice soft. "Really? I'm so proud of you." I turned to face him, keeping my expression neutral. "Thanks." He stepped closer. "Maybe we could go out this weekend. Just the two of us. Mom could watch the kids." If you're watching this and feeling the tension, drop a comment right now. Tell me if you think Sarah should give him another chance or make him suffer. I need to know what you're thinking. I looked at Mark, really looked at him, saw the hope in his eyes, the desire that had been missing for so long, and I felt nothing. "I'm busy this weekend," I said, turning back to my coffee. "Oh, well, maybe next weekend then?" "Maybe." He touched my arm. "Sarah, I know I've been distant, but I want to fix this. I want us to be close again." I pulled my arm away gently. "I need to get Emma ready for school." Mark's face fell, but I walked past him without another word. That afternoon at the gym, Daniel was waiting by the front desk. "Sarah, hey, you got a minute?" "Sure, what's up?" He looked nervous, which was unusual for him. "Look, I know this might be inappropriate, but I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee sometime? Outside the gym, I mean." My heart started racing. "Daniel, I'm married. I know, he said quickly. I've seen your ring. But I've also seen how you light up when you talk about your kids and your work, and then how that light dims when you mention your husband. And I thought maybe you could use a friend. A friend. That's all he was offering, right? Except I could see in his eyes it wasn't just friendship he was interested in. And the scary part was, I wasn't sure I wanted it to be just friendship either. I shouldn't, I said, but even as the words came out, I knew I was going to say yes. Just coffee, Daniel said. As friends. No pressure. Okay, I heard myself say. Coffee. We met at a small cafe near the waterfront 2 days later. I told Mark I had a client meeting. Daniel was already there when I arrived. 2 cups of coffee on the table. I got you a latte. Hope that's okay. It's perfect, I said, sitting down. We talked for 2 hours. About everything. His divorce 3 years ago. His teenage daughter, who lived with her mom in Portland. His love of hiking and photography. I told him about my design work, about Emma's dinosaur obsession and Lucas's new tooth. And then, without meaning to, I told him about Mark. About that night. About those words. Daniel's jaw tightened as I spoke. I'm sorry, he said when I finished. That's unforgivable. You deserve support, not cruelty. It made me stronger, though, I said, trying to smile. In a twisted way. You made yourself stronger, he corrected. Don't give him credit for your hard work. Something in my chest cracked open at those words. No one had validated my effort like that. No one had really seen me in so long. Daniel reached across the table and took my hand. Sarah, you're incredible. Your husband is a fool. I should have pulled my hand back. Should have stood up and left. Instead, I let my fingers curl around his. We met for coffee 3 more times over the next 2 weeks. Each time we stayed longer, talked deeper. The line between friendship and something more was blurring. At home, Mark was trying harder. Compliments, flowers, attempts at conversation. But every time he touched me, every time he looked at me with desire, all I could think was, where was this when I needed it? Where was this man when I was drowning in postpartum depression? When I was struggling to feel human again? He only wanted me now that I looked acceptable to him again. And that realization made me sick. 3 weeks after our first coffee, Daniel and I were in the gym parking lot after an evening session. The lot was nearly empty. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I should go, I said, but I didn't move toward my car. Sarah, Daniel said, his voice low. I need to tell you something. My pulse quickened. What? I have feelings for you. Real feelings. And I know it's complicated and messy and you're married. But I can't pretend anymore that I just want to be your friend. He stepped closer. You deserve someone who sees how amazing you are. Who wanted you at your lowest, not just at your highest. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Daniel reached up and touched my face, his thumb brushing my cheek. Tell me to stop, he whispered. I should have said the words. Instead, I kissed him. And in that moment, I knew there was no going back. That kiss in the parking lot changed everything. Daniel and I started seeing each other regularly. Not just coffee anymore. Real dates hidden in plain sight. Lunch at small restaurants across town where no one would recognize me. Walks along trails far from our neighborhood. Stolen moments that felt both thrilling and terrifying. I told myself I'd tried to save my marriage. I'd begged Mark to see me, to want me, to love me when I needed it most. He chose to push me away. This was his fault, not mine. At least that's what I repeated to myself every time the guilt crept in. Daniel was everything Mark wasn't. Attentive, present. He asked about my day and actually listened to the answers. When I talked about a difficult client or Emma's struggles at school, he engaged. He cared. And physically, the difference was striking. Daniel made me feel desired in a way I'd forgotten was possible. Every touch felt intentional. Every kiss felt real. I won't go into explicit details, but let's just say Mark's performance issues were never a problem with Daniel. The contrast was impossible to ignore. I continued losing weight. 65 kilograms now. I was lean and strong, with muscle definition I'd never had even before kids. I bought clothes that actually fit my new body. Dresses that hugged curves I'd forgotten I had. Jeans that made me feel confident. Mark noticed everything. He tried constantly to reconnect. Romantic gestures that felt hollow and too late. One night, he actually got down on one knee in our living room and apologized. Sarah, I was an idiot. I was cruel and heartless, and I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Let me make this right. I looked down at him. This man I'd loved for 8 years and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. You're sorry now, I said quietly. Now that I look the way you want me to. That's not fair, he protested. I'm sorry for how I treated you. Period. Are you though? Or are you just sorry you're not getting what you want anymore? He had no answer for that. I walked away, leaving him kneeling in our living room. The affair continued for 2 months. 2 months of secret meetings and lies. I became skilled at deception, covering my tracks, creating believable excuses. My mom watched the kids more. Mark thought I was taking on extra clients. He had no idea. Until the day he found the messages. I'd gotten careless, left my phone on the kitchen counter while I showered. Mark's text alert went off on his phone. He went to grab his phone from the counter and saw mine light up instead. Daniel's name. Daniel's message. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. You're all I think about. Mark opened my phone. I hadn't changed my passcode. Why would I? He'd never shown interest in checking my phone before. He scrolled through weeks of messages. Saw everything. I came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, hair dripping. Mark was sitting on our bed, my phone in his hand, his face pale. Who is Daniel? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. My stomach dropped, but I didn't panic, didn't scramble for excuses. Instead, I felt strangely calm. Give me my phone, I said. Who is he, Sarah? Someone who actually wants me, I replied, walking to the closet to get dressed. Mark stood up, his hand shaking. You're having an affair. It wasn't a question. Yes, I said simply, pulling on jeans and a sweater. How long? Does it matter? How long? He shouted. 2 months. Maybe 3. I've lost count. Mark's face crumpled. He looked like I'd physically struck him. How could you do this? We're married. We have children. I turned to face him fully, and something inside me snapped. How could I? How could I, Mark? Really? Sarah, please don't do this. You told me to find another man. Remember? Those were your exact words. I was angry. I didn't mean it. Well, I did exactly what you suggested. And you know what? He's better than you in every possible way. Stop, Mark said, tears starting to fall. Please stop. But I couldn't stop. Months of pain and rejection poured out. Daniel sees me. He wants me. Not just now that I've lost weight, but he wanted me before. He thinks I'm beautiful and smart and interesting. I'm sorry, Mark sobbed. I'm so sorry. And in bed, he actually knows what he's doing. He takes his time. He makes me feel things you never bothered to. That's enough. Mark shouted. Is it though? Because I don't think it is. You spent months making me feel worthless, unwanted, disgusting in my own skin. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. You destroyed my self-esteem when I was at my most vulnerable. I had just given birth to your son. I was struggling, and you couldn't even look at me. Mark collapsed onto the bed, his head in his hands. If you think your story is getting intense, wait until you hear what happens next. Hit that subscribe button and leave a comment telling me if you've ever been in a situation like this. Your story might help someone else. I stood there watching my husband fall apart, and I felt powerful for the first time in years. I'm not apologizing, I said firmly. You broke us first. You broke me first. We can fix this, Mark pleaded. I'll do anything. Counseling. Whatever you need. I don't need anything from you anymore. What about Emma and Lucas? What about our family? Our family? You checked out of this family months ago, Mark. I've been a single parent while you ignored me and judged me. I'll change. I have changed. Can't you see that? You only changed because I changed. That's not real love. That's conditional affection based on whether I meet your physical standards. Mark looked up at me, desperation in his eyes. So what now? You're just going to leave me for this guy? I'm going to leave you because you don't deserve me. Daniel is just a bonus. Mark stood up, anger finally breaking through the tears. You're not taking my kids. Watch me, I said coldly. I'll fight you. I'll tell everyone what you did. Go ahead. Tell them. Tell them how you rejected your wife after childbirth. Tell them how you told her to find another man. See who people sympathize with. Mark's jaw clenched. You're vindictive. This whole thing was just revenge. Maybe. But at least I'm honest about it now. You pretended to care about my health when really you just couldn't stand looking at me. That's not true, isn't it? You could have supported me, worked out with me, helped with the kids, so I had time to take care of myself. Instead, you criticized and withdrew. Mark ran his hands through his hair, pacing the room. I can't believe this is happening. Believe it, I said. I contacted a lawyer last week. His head snapped up. You what? I'm filing for divorce. I want the house. I want primary custody. You can have visitation. You've been planning this. Of course I have. Did you think I was going to stay in a marriage with someone who treats me the way you did? I apologized. I've been trying. Too little, too late, Mark. You can't undo months of cruelty with a few weeks of attention. Mark sat back down on the bed, defeated. I love you, he whispered. No, you don't, I replied. You love the idea of me, the version of me that met your standards. That's not true. Then where were you when I needed you? Where were you when I was crying myself to sleep? When I was drowning in postpartum depression and begging for help? He had no answer. Exactly, I said. You only showed up when I looked good enough for you again. The room fell silent except for Mark's quiet crying. I grabbed my phone from where he dropped it on the bed. I'm going to my mom's tonight with the kids. You have until tomorrow to decide if you want to do this the easy way or the hard way. Sarah, please, don't do this to our family. I already told you. You did this, not me. I walked out of the bedroom, grabbed an overnight bag, and packed quickly. Emma was playing in her room. Lucas was napping in his crib. I got them both ready, avoiding Emma's questions about why we were having a surprise sleepover at Grandma's. Mark stood in the hallway, watching us leave, tears streaming down his face. I looked at him one last time, and I felt absolutely nothing. The next 8 months were a blur of legal proceedings, difficult conversations, and rebuilding. Mark tried everything to stop the divorce, begging, bargaining, even showing up at my mom's house with flowers and letters. But I'd made my decision. There was no going back. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Rebecca Chin, assured me we had a strong case. Emotional neglect, documented messages showing his rejection, witnesses who'd seen my struggle, plus the fact that I'd been the primary caregiver for both kids throughout our marriage. Mark's lawyer tried to use my affair against me, but Rebecca shut that down quickly. You have documented proof your client told her to find another man, she said in one particularly tense meeting. He's lucky she's not asking for more. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Tuesday in October. I got the house, primary custody of Emma and Lucas. Mark got visitation every other weekend and one weekday evening. He also had to pay child support, generous child support. The day the papers were signed, I drove home and sat in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes. It was over. My marriage was actually over. I thought I'd feel sad, regretful, something. Instead, I felt free. Daniel had been incredibly patient through everything. He never pushed, never demanded anything. He just supported me, listened when I needed to talk, gave me space when I needed to process. We kept seeing each other, but I made it clear I needed time before jumping into something serious. I'm not ready to introduce you to my kids yet, I told him 6 months after the divorce. I need to make sure they're adjusting, okay, first. I understand completely, he said. There's no rush. I'm not going anywhere. Emma struggled with the divorce more than Lucas, which made sense. She was old enough to understand that Daddy didn't live with us anymore. She asked questions I wasn't always sure how to answer. Why doesn't Daddy come home? Did you stop loving him? Is it my fault? That last question broke my heart. Oh, sweetheart, I said, holding her close. This has nothing to do with you. Sometimes adults can't be married anymore, but we both still love you and Lucas so much. But you're sad, she said. I can tell. I'm adjusting, just like you are. But I promise we're going to be okay. And slowly we were. Mark saw the kids regularly. He was actually a better father now than when we'd been married. More present, more engaged. Maybe guilt motivated him. Maybe he genuinely learned something. Either way, Emma and Lucas benefited, and that's what mattered. I threw myself into my design work, building my client base. The income from my freelancing was enough to cover expenses with Mark's child support. I felt capable, independent, strong. 10 months after the divorce, Daniel took me to Alki Beach at sunset. We walked along the shore, talking about everything and nothing. Lucas was with Mark for the weekend and Emma was at my mom's. Daniel stopped walking and turned to face me, the orange sky behind him. Sarah, he said, taking my hands, these past months with you have been incredible. Watching you rebuild your life, watching you thrive, it's been an honor. I smiled, my heart starting to race. I know you needed time. I know you needed space to heal and figure things out. And I've been happy to give you that. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. My breath caught. But I can't wait any longer to ask you this. He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful ring. Marry me, Sarah. Not because you need someone to complete you. You're already complete. But because I want to spend my life supporting you, loving you, being your partner in everything. Tears started falling before I could stop them. This man had seen me at my worst and my best. He'd never asked me to be anything other than myself. Yes, I said, my voice shaking. Yes, I'll marry you. Daniel slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me as the sun set over the water. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at a winery in Woodinville. Emma was my flower girl wearing a purple dress she'd picked out herself. Lucas, now 2.5, was the ring bearer, though he mostly just wanted to eat the flowers. My mom cried happy tears. Daniel's daughter, Mia, flew in from Portland and hugged me tight. Welcome to the family, she whispered. Mark knew about the wedding. I'd told him out of courtesy. He sent a text the morning of, I hope you're happy, Sarah. You deserve it. I didn't respond. As I stood at the altar looking at Daniel, promising to love and honor him, I thought about that night 2 years ago. The night Mark told me to find another man. Those words had been meant to hurt me, to break me down, to make me feel worthless. Instead, they'd freed me. They'd pushed me to rediscover who I was, to remember my strength, to refuse to accept less than I deserved. Did I handle everything perfectly? No. The affair wasn't something I was proud of. But I'd been drowning and Daniel had been a lifeline. Sometimes survival isn't pretty. Sometimes finding yourself requires breaking the rules. Mark lost everything because he couldn't see past my body, because he valued appearance over partnership, and he'd have to live with that regret for the rest of his life. As for me, I was 62 kilograms of confidence, independence, and hard-won self-respect. I had 2 beautiful kids, a thriving career, and a partner who loved me unconditionally. The revenge had been sweet, but the real victory was finding myself again. So to anyone watching this who's been made to feel less than, who's been rejected or dismissed or told they're not enough, listen to me. You are enough, right now, as you are. And if someone can't see that they don't deserve you, take those painful words and turn them into fuel. Transform them into power. And when you rise from the ashes, make sure they see exactly what they lost. Trust me, it's worth it. If this story resonated with you, if you've been through something similar or know someone who has, leave a comment. Share your story. Hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Your experience matters. Your voice matters. And remember, you deserve to be loved at your worst, not just desired at your best. Thank you for listening to my story.